I thought losing my father would be the hardest thing I'd ever face, but I was wrong. The real betrayal came from the man I trusted to love me forever, the man I called my husband. When he turned his eyes from grief to greed, I realized the life I thought I had was nothing but a carefully constructed illusion, and the fight to protect everything my father built would cost me more than money. It would cost me trust, love, and the world I thought I knew. Lauren Caldwell never imagined that losing her father would hurt like this. She thought the agony would be about learning to live without him, about facing the empty space in her life left by his absence. But she was wrong. The real heartbreak came from the man she had trusted the most, the man she had vowed to spend her life with. Her name was Lauren Caldwell. She was 36 years old, and for as long as she could remember, she had believed her life was fortunate, stable, a career she loved, a husband who appeared charming, and a father who had been the anchor of her world after her mother passed. When she was 20, her father had been her closest confidant, her safe haven, the founder of Caldwell West, a company he had built from scratch into a thriving business. He was more than her father. He was the foundation of her world. 8 years ago, she met Andrew at a marketing conference in Chicago. He was a keynote speaker, charismatic, confident, smooth. From the moment she saw him, she was drawn to him. Within 2 years, they were married. Her father walked her down the aisle with tears glistening in his eyes, while Andrew's mother, Evelyn, sat stone-faced in the front row in a designer gown, her disapproval written across her features. From the beginning, Evelyn had never warmed to Lauren. She overheard Evelyn whispering to Andrew at their rehearsal dinners, saying she was nice, but she didn't look like CEO material. Lauren had tried. She had sent flowers, invited her to dinners, extended kindness, but nothing melted that icy wall. Years passed, and when her father's health began to decline, they hoped for more time, but cancer never listened to hope. He passed quietly in his sleep just 4 months after his diagnosis. At the funeral, Evelyn arrived late, sunglasses never leaving her face, and left before the service ended. Andrew was distracted throughout, offering logistical help but little emotional support. The next morning, the attorney called, asking Lauren to meet about the estate. She expected a routine meeting, a few properties, perhaps some accounts, nothing life-changing. She wasn't prepared for what came next. Handed a folder with steady eyes, he said her father left everything to her, the company, the properties, all the accounts, valued at just over $35 million after taxes and fees. Lauren stared, her hands trembling. $35 million. It didn't feel real. She wasn't excited. She didn't feel lucky. She felt hollow. This was a farewell letter more than a gift. That night, she sat on the couch, documents spread across the coffee table. Andrew came home, glanced down, and gave a low whistle. So it's true, he said, sitting beside her. It's really all yours. She nodded slowly, still processing everything. Yes, she hadn't expected it to be this much. Andrew smiled, but there was something unfamiliar in his eyes. Shifting his tone, he suggested they talk about what to do with it, invest, maybe buy that place in Aspen she liked, and of course they needed to figure out how much to give his mother. Lauren blinked. What? He looked at her like she was slow. Because she's family, we give her half, right? She laughed, not from amusement, but shock. She thought he was joking. He wasn't, his voice gentle. He reasoned that Evelyn raised him alone, had been through a lot, and it was only right that she receive part of the inheritance. That's when the first crack appeared. The air shifted. The man she loved was no longer beside her. Someone else had replaced him, someone who saw dollar signs where she saw grief. She stare, heart pounding. Andrew, the inheritance is from my father, not for us. It's his legacy. Why would I give half to your mother? His expression tightened. He leaned back, arms crossed. Don't be selfish, Lauren. You know she's family. She's your family. She never liked my father. She left his funeral early and hasn't called once since he passed. His voice rose sharper. That's just how she is. She cares. You think you're the only one who lost someone. Watching my wife turn into a greedy person overnight. That word greedy cut deep. She opened her mouth, then closed it. There was nothing left to say. She stood. I need air. As she walked out, she heard him mutter, unbelievable. That night, sleep eluded her, words echoing in her head. Greedy, selfish. It wasn't about money. It was about how little he seemed to care. She remembered her father saying, grief doesn't change people, it reveals them. He couldn't have been more right. The next day, Andrew acted as if nothing happened. He made coffee, kissed her cheeks, spoke about the whether. She played along, but inside, she was done pretending. Later that afternoon, her phone rang. She saw Evelyn's name. She didn't want to answer, but curiosity prevailed. Lauren's sweetheart, Evelyn's voice overly sweet. Andrew told me the news. I'm so proud of you. Your father was smart. There was a pause. She continued awkwardly. I thought we could talk numbers, investments, real estate, maybe a new place for myself. Tasteful, nothing extravagant. She gripped the phone tighter. Evelyn, Lauren, I lost my father Less than a week ago. And you want to talk numbers? She clicked her tongue. He would want you to take care of family. That's what good daughters and wives do. Lauren, with steady, cold voice, replied, with all due respect, you are not my family, not entitled to a cent of this money. And bringing it up while I'm grieving says much about your character. Silence followed for a moment. Then Evelyn snapped, you thought you were too good for us. Let's see how long you last alone. She hung up, hands shaking, not from fear, but from betrayal, rage, realization. By dinner, Andrew had heard about the call. He didn't hide anger. You had no right to speak that way, he said. She shot back. She had no right to ask for money. She's my only family, he argued, and I won't let you treat her like garbage. Lauren stared, eyes burning. This isn't a windfall, Andrew. It's a grave. My father died. Instead of mourning with me, you and your mother treat it like a lottery ticket, his silence said everything. Over the next days, things worsened. Evelyn appeared unannounced with property listings, interior designers walking through the house like she owned it. Andrew never stopped her. She's just excited, he said. Don't be dramatic. Dramatic ache. Lauren watched her marriage fall apart while being called dramatic. She took action, locking the office where legal papers were kept, changing passwords, moving funds into protected accounts under legal guidance, called her lawyer for a private meeting. She wasn't sure where it was going, but needed to protect herself. He nodded. You're not the first to come here after an inheritance, but most don't come with security cameras. Blink. She looked at him. Cameras, install them now, especially if you live with someone who thinks they deserve half of everything. The idea made her skin crawl. She followed advice. 2 days later, footage confirmed her fears. Evelyn was in her office, rummaging through drawers, checking labels, not looking for a notepad. Something specific. She confronted Evelyn. That evening, saw you in my office, she said calmly. Were you trying to find the inheritance documents? Evelyn laughed. Breezy. Oh, Lauren, I was just looking for a notepad. Andrew said, you kept extras next to locked drawer. Her hand inches from the lock. Next time. Lauren, voice cold as she smiled, tight, smug. Of course, dear. She left. Lauren locked the drawer, backed up footage, twice confronted Andrew. Your mother was going through my office trying to find paperwork. He didn't blink. She was just curious. A lot of money people get curious. She snapped. She was manipulating us into giving her the inheritance. Andrew stood, voice rising. She's not manipulating anyone. She's trying to help. You should be grateful someone is thinking clearly about the money. You're acting like a hoarder. She froze. The hoarder must have crossed a line. He stepped back. I didn't mean it like that. Just meant you're keeping it all to yourself. That's not what families do. Something inside her hardened. This isn't about family, she said quietly. It's about greed, control, and that ever since my dad died, you stopped seeing me as your wife and started seeing me as your wallet. Andrew scoffed, stormed out. She didn't follow, sat on edge of bed, heart pounding, cried not for her father, but herself, knowing marriage was over, just not yet signed the paperwork. Over the next week, she prepared, quietly met with financial advisor and second attorney specialized in asset protection, reviewed accounts, documents, loopholes, began moving funds, strategically documented every transaction, kept every receipt, every click, every login, upgraded security system cameras at every entry point, hired private investigator into Evelyn's finances. Findings confirmed suspicions: credit card debt, failed businesses, inquiries into high-end skincare line with no capital or investors. No wonder she had claws out. Andrew shifted gears, cold to affectionate, bringing flowers, cooking dinners, first time in a year. Maybe we got off on wrong foot, he said, watching her closely. This wasn't reconciliation strategy. He hoped she'd relax, forget everything she and his mother did. She declined vacation, too much work. He didn't push. Glint of frustration flickered in his eyes. Next morning, laptop moved, lid open. She always shut it, checked login activity. 2 failed attempts, worse, webcam light on. Confronted Andrew, must be a glitch, shrugged. She didn't respond, changed passwords, followed lawyer's advice, gather evidence. She did, documented every word, shift in tone, attempts to guilt her, kept journal, backed up video, recorded conversations, small device from attorney. 3 days later, Andrew stopped pretending, charm vanished, flowers ended, dinners ended. He just hovered, watching her like something slipping through fingers. Evelyn grew bolder. One morning, she found her in kitchen, barefoot, robe open, drinking coffee like she lived there. She froze, smiled, fake warmth dripping every syllable. We need to talk. Lauren didn't move. You need to leave. She didn't flinch. Just want to make sure you're not doing anything impulsive under stress. She'd hate a mistake. Lauren laughed bitterly. You mean like not handing over millions to a woman who hasn't worked in A decade calls me greedy behind my back, eyes narrowed, careful Lauren, not wise to make enemies in your own home, stepped closer, voice low, steady, this house isn't yours, neither is the money, now get out before I call police. She stood glaring. Lauren locked the door, picked up phone, called lawyer. It's time. I said, want to move forward, began preparing divorce filing, quietly, strategically, already moved half inheritance into trust, untouchable father foresight. Other half still marital property, acted. Quickly that night, asked Andrew to meet at cafe, neutral ground, public controlled. He agreed, unaware what was coming. She arrived early, corner table, clear view, leather folder, flash drive, inside folder, divorce papers, flash drive, months of evidence, video, audio, email, thread, screenshots, especially damning clip of Evelyn going through drawers. Andrew arrived 5 minutes late, business casual, smile not reaching eyes. Hey Lauren, he said lightly, sliding in. What's this about? She didn't answer, took out envelope placed on table. He glanced down. What's this? Divorce papers, she said calmly, blinked. Wait, you're serious? Completely. He leaned back, scoffing, over money ending marriage. She locked eyes with him. No, it's about disrespect, betrayal, watching him and mother treat her father's death like opportunity. Face tightened, reached for folder. She slid out of reach. Also flash drive, suggest you hand it to attorney, includes proof, everything, attempts to access laptop, recordings of conversations. Andrew turned pale. Plan this, she said quietly. No, I responded. You did nothing. He didn't speak a word. She stood, tucked folder into bag, looked at him. Last time, goodbye. Andrew walked out into cool morning air. For first time in weeks, felt she could breathe again. This wasn't revenge through rage, but clarity, control, self-respect. Sometimes the most powerful thing is to leave. She felt a calm she hadn't known in years, a quiet strength coursing through her veins. She allowed herself to envision life without fear, manipulation, and betrayal. She could feel her father's presence in every decision, his voice echoing, reminding her to trust herself, to protect what was rightfully hers. She walked through her home, every corner now a symbol of her autonomy, each room secured, each drawer locked, and every secret documented. She reached for her phone and sent instructions to the attorneys to finalize trusts and protect the remaining assets. She let herself imagine mornings without tension, afternoons filled with laughter, friends' dinners without someone lurking with entitlement. She could picture travel without watching her back, and nights without fear. The future suddenly seemed hers to shape, every moment an affirmation of her resilience. She understood the cost of love and loss, and yet the clarity was liberating. Lauren smiled faintly. She knew Andrew would never cross her again, not without consequences, and Evelyn would learn boundaries. But she also knew the world could shift quickly, that trust could be tested. Again her eyes wandered to the window beyond the city skyline, and she felt a pulse of caution alongside hope. She had walked away with everything she needed, more than money, control, peace of mind, and the unwavering knowledge that she would never again be underestimated. She felt a surge of resolve that whatever came next she would face head-on, because this time she was prepared. Lauren Caldwell would no longer be a victim of circumstance or greed. She had claimed her power, and yet, in the quiet night, she sensed a shadow in the corner of her mind, a question unanswered, a subtle unease that reminded her life was unpredictable and some battles remained unseen. She breathed deeply, knowing she had won, but acknowledging that the final chapter was not yet written.